A very, 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 very warm welcome to everybody this evening. Wherever you're logging in from, hello, thank you for joining us. Um, I'd just like to, before I get in there, to just say I have a very special guest with me this evening. His name is Dr. Yair Levy. Say hi, Dr. Levy.
Hello. Hi,
Okay,
everyone.
right. So you'll hear a lot more from Dr. Levy as we get on. This evening, we're going to be talking about what the future looks like for you and cybersecurity. So that's a very tall order because it's future and it is something that keeps evolving, which is the whole technological advancement and how it's going to impact us. So that's what we're going to be talking about. My name is Carlene Blackwood-Brown. I'm the director and the cybersecurity consultant here at Technologically Speaking Inc. And my very special guest, like I said before, is Dr. Levy, and I'll tell you a little bit more about him as we get on. Here's my email address if you want to get in touch with me, especially as it relates to your cyber health. We've been talking about cyber health for the last 3 weeks or so, and that's the website address that you can always find us. So, moving ahead, let me just advance the slide. Welcome and introduction. As usual, a little bit about our company. Then we jump right into question and answer with Dr. Levy. I have some questions that I'm going to be posing to him because he is my subject matter expert in cybersecurity this evening. And then, we look at the conclusion and then questions and answers from you. So again, a warm, warm welcome. It's night where I'm at now, wherever you're logging in from, whatever time of the day, a very, very warm welcome. I hope you are warm. The song did say coming in from the cold. So if you are out in the cold, come on in and let's have a good time learning about cybersecurity. So I really do appreciate your time that you have taken to join us this evening. Some of you, when I looked at the list, you have been with us all 4 weeks. So I salute you. I appreciate their time. If this is the first time, welcome. The second, third, whatever time, welcome. And I hope that this is going to be the start of a very, very great professional relationship or connection with you. So a little bit about our company. It's called Technologically Speaking Inc. That's a mouthful, but the name says it all. So whatever you have in the area of technology, any problems, any issues, you can always come on. You can talk to us. You can call us. Now it's COVID, so most time it's like remote, but we're here for you. So we are both cybersecurity and technology because you got to have the technological piece before you put the cybersecurity piece on it. So that's what we do. And we focus on the technical needs of both individuals and organizations, more so the small to medium-sized businesses where usually you do not have the in-house resources to take care of your technical as well as your cybersecurity needs. So it's mostly consulting, training, and anything else that you have. We focus also on delivering the knowledge and skills that you need to protect the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of your digital assets. So we use leading edge technology after research, though, to see what's out there for you. It's very, very customized set of services that we do because we realize that it's not a one size that fits all. So our vision is reasonable assurance. We want to create the path to reasonable assurance when you are on the internet. No one is 100% secure. Remember, we have been saying that all the time. So reasonable assurance is what we help to create. And we do that through research, innovation, and creativity. We have a wonderful team of people, patient, and we provide superior services. So you can come on in and you can speak with us. So some of the specific services that we provide are cybersecurity and awareness skills training. And everybody needs that. right? And when we get into the discussion, we'll see why it's not you learn today and that's it. You got to continue learning because the cyber criminals are constantly evolving with their tactics. So whatever you learn today, you're going to need to get refreshers tomorrow. When I say tomorrow, not literally tomorrow, but later on in the future, we can help you with that, whether on an individual level or as an organization. We also provide IT support services. So whatever issues you have with your computers, your digital devices, you can call us. Our team is ready and waiting to help you. Smart homes and your Wi-Fi network, we help you to configure that because now individuals, we have a big network that we are responsible for. Last week when we looked at Internet of Things, we realized how many devices we have in our homes and we got to protect them, so we help you with that. So leading up to that, we help you to develop what we call personal cybersecurity plans. Everybody needs one now. Take an inventory of all your devices. Look at all the things that are connecting to the internet. What do you need to store here? What do you need to do with this? We help you to create your plans, even if you're not an organization. The assumption here is that organizations have cybersecurity plans in place, so we help with the individuals. If you're an organization and you do not yet have your plan, we are the persons to call. We help with data organization, storage, and protection. And that's a big thing because most times we just store our files and we are not sure where what is. We back up. Where's the backup? What do we put in the cloud? What do we keep local? We help you with that. We do Microsoft Office training, Excel, Word, those things that would make you more efficient in your workplace. And this is mostly for companies, information security and privacy compliance, because data protection, the laws are out there and you got to know what they are. You got to know that you also need to comply. So we help you with those. And then we help you with risk assessment, mitigation, and incident response plans. One of the big things out of research is that organizations that have suffered a data breach, the ones that had tested incident response plans, those were the ones that recovered quicker than the others. Also, there was huge cost savings in that. So organizations, you need to have your incident response plans and they need to be tested. So in regards, another arm that we have for the training is that we have a partnership with the Professional Evaluation Certification Board, PECB, and they provide training and services based on ISO standards. So we are partners with them, so we can also provide that level of training for you. As an organization, when you have all your systems in place that are based on best practices, international standards, then you have a competitive edge in your marketplace. As individuals, you can also get certified, and those are the areas. You can also get certified because it adds some element of, it complements your other credentials that you have, because again, you are trained based on internationally recognized standard. So that's it about our company. I'm gonna just now say a little bit about Dr. Levy. And the first time that I met Dr. Levy, I know he probably won't remember, but I do remember. I walked into the classroom in my PhD program, and the way he did the class, and there was something about Dr. Levy's, his own presence and his knowledge, and I say, this is the person I'd like to be my advisor when it comes to my dissertation stage. But then, when I spoke to other friends of mine, they were like, no, Dr. Levy is in high demand, which is true. Right? And before you get to him, you got to have a plan. You got to know your problem statement. You got to put it within the context. You got to know exactly where you're going with your research. And I'm like, I don't have that yet. I'm not at that stage. But because I knew that he was in such high demand, what I did, which was a bold step, and maybe Dr. Levy does not even realize, it was in the fall, and I emailed him and I say, when I come down to classes for the winter semester, I'd like to come in and meet with you. So he said, okay. Didn't know what he was going to get into, but he said, okay. I went in and I honestly, it was a blank sheet of paper in terms of my brain. I didn't know anything and I was like, what am I going to say? And I said, Dr. Levy, I'd like you to be my advisor. What do I need to do? What do I need to do in order for you to take me on as a student? Everybody else would have gone in with a problem statement and everything laid out and say, this is where, we'd want to work. And to my pleasant surprise, I was trembling, but to my pleasant surprise, he said to me, my area is information security. I'm into cybersecurity. So if you want me to be your advisor, then you got to make sure that you do those courses. And I was like, yes, because already I had started doing the cybersecurity courses. And then he took me under his wings. And then I say, sir, I don't have a topic. And then he said, I have some areas that I'm working on, so I'm going to, share them with you. That was it. So today, Dr. Levy, thank you. You have contributed to who I am professionally. And I took a glass, and I'd like to just raise my glass to you, sir, to say thank you.
Also here, I have
Thank,
water.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Happy hour later.
Okay. So
Those of you who are attending, I just want to just say a few words on Dr. Blackwood-Brown. It's been a pleasure. We know each other for years now. And, she doesn't know it, but as an advisor, we pick the students. The students don't pick us. So
okay.
uh,
Good to know.
I did pick her because she was very determined from the first moment she walked into my PhD seminar class at Nova Southeastern University, and I'm here to obviously represent the university, not the company itself. I'm not affiliated. I want to say that I'm not affiliated with the company, but I'm obviously know Dr. Blackwood-Brown, and for many years I supervised her research. I signed on her PhD. She's been wonderful throughout the process. She knows what she's doing, and she's been working closely with me during her dissertation. We've collected data in a very, very difficult environment. I don't know if you've been presenting that as well, but she's been doing her research is primarily in cybersecurity in the context of skills of elderly and adults and small companies. And so what she's been doing now is an amazing and wonderful extension of her research. And I'm here to help and support whatever is needed. Obviously, those of you who don't know me a little bit, I'm going to just introduce me quickly. For 16 years, I've been a professor. I'm a full professor at Nova Southeastern University. And if you're interested to read more about what we do in my center, including seeing a picture of Dr. Uh, Blackwood.
I hope you're not going to show that.
If you go to our site, cylab.nova.edu, you're more than welcome to see the research that I conduct with my doctoral team, my current doctoral team, and also see my alumni, including you know who. And so I've been at Nova Southeastern University for 16 years. I'm in charge of the cybersecurity programs. If you go to learn more about our research center as well, infosec.nova.edu, you're more than welcome to learn more about what the university and the college, I'm in the College of Computing and Engineering, what we are doing in terms of our activities. We are, the university is designated as a national center for cybersecurity education, a center of excellence in cybersecurity education. That's the program that uh, Carlene was in, is certified, and we are very proud of with our relationship with the federal government. I myself, if you're going to read more about it, if you're interested. Besides our research, I'm very much involved with both local in South Florida. So I'm in Miami, if you're asking. And I'm very much involved with local law enforcement, state, and more so with federal level. I've been trained for 6 months by the FBI, Miami field office. I spent 6 months with them, mainly on cyber. On the InfraGard, those of you who are any InfraGard members here, any FBI InfraGard members here, let us know in the chat area. But InfraGard is a partnership between the FBI and private industry, and individuals who are vetted by the FBI basically are members. It's free. You can search InfraGard if you're interested. And if you're in key positions in businesses, doesn't have to be in IT, but you can learn a lot about the collaboration that is being done within. It's led by the FBI, by an FBI special agent. I am serving the last few years as a consultant for NSA, National Security Agency, for cybersecurity related areas, and obviously also with FDLE, Cyber Working Group, and the U.S. Secret Services. Those of you who don't know, before their job was to protect the president and vice president, they were involved with counterfeits and money, right? In the 1800s. And so their job actually since then is to protect the financial stability of the US. So I am part of the US Secret Service's Miami Electronic Crime Task Force, and we primarily focus on credit card and bank fraud when it comes to digital and cyber arena. Because think about it, nowadays your bank account is just a digital account on a server. So everything is computerized, everything is cyber. Anything we do nowadays, especially with COVID, it's cyber. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Levy. So you know how special I feel that Dr. Levy is with me here this evening to answer some questions. So we're going to jump right into the questions. I prepared some for you, sir. And the first one that I have for you is what's happening in cybersecurity that, relative to your experience, you find intriguing, new, and or different?
Wow. So, by the way, just to tell you, I got a list of questions, but I'm so busy that I did not have the chance to go over, and I apologize, but obviously I can answer those. I think what we're seeing now, as a matter of fact, we just had a long discussion with some FBI special agents who are, in the cyber arena. And we brainstormed some ideas of what's going on and what areas we can do in my team to do research to actually advance and assist, the FBI and some other, and CISA and DHS. And one of the things that we are seeing now emerging that no one thought about it before COVID is the whole security of teleworkers. Security of employees at home is massive because when employees were working in a business, the cybersecurity was basically under the shoulders of the IT or IT security team. Now employees are working from home, and we're seeing that they supposed to handle the cybersecurity because it's their home and it's their router and it's their access point and it's their laptop in most cases, right? And so we've been discussing some ideas of how do we address that, because we're seeing a massive campaign. So those of you who are interested, if you go to ic3.gov, again, I'm not political. This is the Internet Computer Complaint Center by the FBI. It's run by the FBI headquarters. And you can read some of the news releases and some of the reports You're going to be amazed with the volume of scams that have just emerged in the last few months are significant. So we are seeing that on one hand, we see cyber criminals are basically, continuing doing similar things. On the other hand, we see cyber criminals innovate, and that's the problem. And we on our side must innovate as well by educating ourselves. That's number one. That's why we're doing those seminars, right? October is the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So we're about to finish October, but it's very important to educate the public, educate everyone. And that's why I think this is a wonderful opportunity here.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Levy. Another question I have for you, and that's true about continuously educating yourself, because one of the things that I've recommended since we started was to use multi-factor or two-factor authentication whenever that service is offered, because it's one of the layers that you can use. So Monday, I got an article that was just saying 12 ways to hack multi-factor authentication. So it's like just when we think that we have gotten it, as you say, they continue to innovate. So that is why we got to also continue be on the ball, educating ourselves so we can try to outsmart them as well. So the next question I have, last week we spoke about Internet of Things, and it was a huge, huge eye opener for the attendees in terms of just being now aware of the everyday devices that we use and the gadgets that we use, how much information that they collect about us. So my question to you is that there are talks now for compliance with, as it relates to the manufacturers of these IoT devices, that before you send them out, it's not a first to market, you got to start thinking about security. But when I read also, it also says that it's like they're going to start with federal and then the infrastructure, critical infrastructure, and then organizations, and then whatever IoT devices get to us as individuals. But while they come down the ladder, we continue to use these. So do you think that these compliance regulations, that they come a little bit too late, so it's like closing the door after you have the thief in? Do you think so?
Okay, the short answer is no. Right? It's not gonna help. The long answer is, first of all, as you know, I call IoT Internet of Trouble, right? And so one of a couple of things that you need to realize with these regulations is that they will affect manufacturers who produce their products completely in the US. Okay, these are not going to impact organizations that sell cheapy products made in China. And this is not classified information, but we know from the FBI and from NSA and some other groups that are working on this area. And you can read about it yourself. You can search on Google and read reports, even from the FBI and some other federal agencies. Every product that is completely manufactured in China, doesn't matter if it's your TV or your phone, the Chinese authorities, the government has full access, backdoor access. As a matter of fact, the manufacturers are required by the Chinese government before they export the products from China to give the Chinese authorities the backdoor access to all of these products.
Wow.
So now this is being just released, declassified in the last year and a half, but it's still not reaching the public. And obviously we're doing here this talk. So, and so be aware that when you buy those products, you are basically, opening that product to the possibility that maybe not the Chinese are going to use their backdoor, but maybe cyber criminals will use their backdoor. So that's a whole separate discussion that we can have. Obviously, IoTs are problematic. when we do, so my master students that are doing network security engineering projects, what we do is we always segment the network. So we separate the network for all those IoT devices. We put them on a separate network. If you have your, my home, I have 4 different networks. Depends on the
At home.
depends on the classification and what I'm using. But one of my networks is obviously dedicated to my IoT, my surveillance cameras and things like that. That I would like my, I have a weather station and things like that. These are made in China. All of these products are made in China. I'm not putting those on any of my and not even mid-range security level network, right? So those are issues that the public need to be educated for those things. The problem is that when the federal government comes in and report that, people think that there is some sort of a bias here. But when you're a professional in the field and you look at the evidence, um, it's right there. We've seen products that have been emerged into, and you can search that on Google as well. Sikorsky is the helicopter company who a couple of years back bought, components from China. Those components included, these are helicopters for the Marines and others, had backdoor to them. You can imagine the impact we're talking about here, right? What about our hospitals? What about products we've seen in COVID-19, products that are, malfunctioned, etc. But we're talking now about items that are being controlled remotely or being controlled via, digital infrastructure. It's a challenge especially when we put lives of people on the line. So
Wow. And just when I thought I had shocked everybody last week about IoT, and I was just addressing it from the standpoint of the amount of data that it collects, but now there's another level that a whole new kind of worms that you
absolutely.
have opened just by what you said. And that's, that whole thing about segmenting your network. Sometimes when we mention that, then I get questions, how do you segment your network? But then I say, that's how you need to come on in or call us, let us know. And in your cybersecurity plan that we have for you, we can help you with that. Because Dr. Levy just spoke about his home network and he had 4, right? So you can imagine that you can do that. And these are just some ways that you can help to protect yourselves. So, Dr. Levy, based on the predictions that they have for cybersecurity, what are some things that are worrying and what are some things that, we can relax and say that's comforting? Can you think of anything?
Sure. So I think when it comes to worrying again, I think some of the things that are, if we're looking at what's coming our way, most of the issues that are coming to individuals um, primarily are the classic things that we've been seeing all along: phishing, business email compromise. Specifically, those of you who are business owners for small businesses, if you're running your businesses on a Gmail or on any email, by the way, the question I have for you is, what will happen if I have full access to your email? What would I know about you if I have full access to your email, right? And in most cases, you're probably going to answer me that I'll know everything about you. I ask my students, what do I know about you if I have full access to your email? And the answer is, one of my students said, you will know that I eat a lot of pizza. And another one says, you will know that I'm lazy and I do Uber Eat. And another one will say, I'll know a lot about you. Why? Because our life becomes now digital and we work on emails. So one of the things, as I mentioned, the IC3, if you want to read more about this, or you want to look at some of the research projects we're doing on business email compromise, the point is that these cyber criminals take over those business accounts and they just sit there and listen. and they just see what you write, who you're communicating with. They learn who you are, right? And then at one point when it's applicable for them, they will inflict the damage. Okay, they will either, if you're doing wire transfer, that they will, intercept the email and change the SWIFT number, or if you're doing any other activities, they may, we've seen those, they overcome some of your two-factor authentication, they do other things. Where do they get to access your email? And it's not becoming as simple as just sending you an email from a bank that you've never heard of and saying, hey, click here. They're becoming smarter and smarter. They do homework, right? They prepare. They hack into a marketing server to steal the marketing information, and then they attack all those customers of that company. Now they know that they are customers of that company. If I, we train some of our students to be ethical hackers, right? So when we train our students, the first thing we teach them is, if I want to hack you and you learned about security, you attended the presentations of Dr. Blackwood-Brown and you're educated about those issues. But if I want to hack your company, it may be easier for me to hack your children or your parents or someone around you, because they may not be as secured as you are. Okay, and one of the biggest challenges we're seeing constantly is the mobile devices. Apps, volume of apps. If I ask you now, we have very nice 70 some attendees. If I ask all of you to look at your cell phone and browse through the applications and tell me if you know which country the developer of each app is from, I can guarantee you that probably more than half of those apps you have no clue. And that's the problem, because some of these free apps, free games, will have malicious components in them. As a matter of fact, a lot of them on some platforms. And that's how they penetrate. That's how they implement keyloggers and other things. So it's very challenging, but our job is to stay ahead of the curve, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so someone is asking if Apple Store is safe. Let me answer that. That's a very good question. So first of all, we can say that nothing is 100% safe, right? Like everything else. You wake up in the morning. I wake up in the morning. I get out of bed. I don't know if I'm gonna fall or not. I mean, this is reality. Everything we do has a risk, right? We can talk about risk all day long. I'm teaching risk management. Carlene was in my risk management class as well. But coming back to the issue of the fact, so we have to start with the fact that we're saying that first of all, everything is hackable, right? Even very highly classified systems in very closed environment can be hacked. We've seen that. Okay, so let's start with that as a foundation. But if we're talking about specifically products, every product, no matter what it is, has vulnerabilities. We actually have, common vulnerabilities and exposures. It's common database where we house all the known issues. But coming back to your point, many years back, and it's a very good question about the Apple Store. Many years back, Apple had the rule of saying that every app that comes to the app store, they're going to have 4 eyes going over it, meaning 2 people, right? Reviewing all the code. And that was great at the beginning, but then they started seeing the tremendous volume coming up. So what they did is they moved to only review major versions. So if I want to upload a malicious application, what we learned is that they would upload pieces of the code in every version. So think about that. If I need to install a version 2.05, I will put few lines of malicious in them. And I can make them, those of you who are programmers here, I can make them as just comments in the code. And then I can upload another piece with another comment, etc., etc. And that's how they build the whole malicious piece. And then they take the tags off from making it just a comment to making it actually a malicious piece. So it's not easy even to Apple and Google to detect those. It's a challenge. Of course, if these are impacting a lot of people, we've seen some games, right, like Pokemon Go and others that were later on, were proven to have some pieces in there or replications of those that were created by cyber criminals with misspelling of the name. We've seen those as well. Basically, are issues there. So I hope I answered. When we say, again, these are not 100% issues. So we try to look at, okay, who's the vendor? When you look at apps specifically, I would recommend you to look at who's the vendor. So when we talk to individuals who, especially executives, if you are an executive or you own your own company, one thing I would recommend you is to go and sit down and really evaluate all the apps you have on your phone. Do you really know who programmed them? And if not, delete those. If you already suspect your phone has a malware on it, and you probably know it, right? Your battery runs fast, the screen flashes, there are indicators. As a matter of fact, we did a whole research on indicators on those. You may want to reset back to factory settings and then install only those apps that are crucial. So these are our items. Someone is asking here, I was planning soon to do wire transfer on a contractor from a home upgrades. Should I post a check instead of tell my request to the bank? I would say try to avoid wire transfer. It's a very good question about wire transfers. Personally, try to avoid wire transfers as much as you can. Because once you do that, it complicates things, because where would you get the SWIFT number of those banks is primarily via email. So even if you want to do that and the vendor tells you that's the only way I'm doing it, make sure that you call them on the phone, put the person you are doing business with on the phone, go letter and number, letter, number by number, and letter by letter to verify that the SWIFT or whatever bank number is that you have received on the email is the accurate one. If you're going to read the information we've been doing research on, and the FBI has posted on the IC3 in 2017, the losses of businesses from business email compromise due to wire transfers related was $5 billion with the B dollars. They wrote the report, you can see that. And we said, wow, that's significant amount of money. And then in 2018, they came up with the report, and it was $12.5 billion. We were blown. And then last year in 2019, they came up with over $26 billion losses from business email compromise. So when we talk about those wire transfers, I would caution you, all of you, to really think significantly before you do that. It's really, really major. So looking here at more questions, my computer Google RoboForum always ask if they should save my password. Should I say no? Rudy, excellent question. I think we, in my classes of ethical hacking, we teach that in the third session of how to get all your passwords from your browser. It's actually super easy, man. If you save your passwords, I can hack you. And I mean, my students who are just in the first 3 sessions can hack your computer. Um, Try not to do that. So if you have to write them, by the way, if you have to write them down, talking about passwords, we've done research projects and experiments on passwords. One of the things that we now recommend, and NIST, by the way, in the US, is changed. So remember, we used to say, use these, exclamation mark and question mark and all these signs. And nowadays we're saying that it's good if you can use those, but the more important piece is to make something very long. Right? So, and you remember you had that in your training that you did your research. So one of the things we call those pass phrases. And so think about a passphrase like John likes 2 lattes for $10. That's a passphrase, the whole thing, right? Try to crack that. That's not easy as a hacker, right? I hope everyone here is above the age of 21, so I can say, maybe Dr. Blackwood-Brown likes 2 martinis for $20. That's a better password, right?
There you go, laying off that passphrase, doctor. Okay.
Rudy, I hope I address your question. Let me know in the chat area if that's
wow.
if you have any additional questions, let me know. Adrian is saying, is there a certain countries that are red flag for developers? That's actually a very good question, but we also see from reports from the FBI, from DHS and other law enforcement, federal law enforcement groups, is that unfortunately some of the criminals now hire programmers and developers to do work for them. So what we've seen in the past is things where we have major areas of the world that are known for different types of hacking. So we know, for example, that Russia and Eurasia area, and this is not secret, you're going to read that online as many documentations as you want, is primarily focused on money. They want to steal our money. They're the ones who do the wire stealing. They're the ones who do ransomware. They're the ones who do credit card fraud. The Target case was the WannaCry. These are all coming from the Eurasia area. When we talk about intellectual property of companies, so I'm working on a research couple of years already, a research project with the Italians. My mom is Italian from Rome. So we've been working in Italy, specifically in the Tuscan area, a lot of design and manufacturing companies, small mom and pop shops that are doing very, innovative things, furniture, jewelry, you name it, even wineries and oil and olive oil and other things and cheeses. And they've been hacked by the Chinese primarily to get their intellectual property. We see a massive campaign at US organizations and also Canadian organizations that have specific intellectual knowledge. They would hack to steal their intellectual property. Think about what they can do if they steal the Apple 16 drawings. I'm just saying, right? I mean, they've done that. They've done older versions that they stole, and they created, what is that phone? Huawei, right? Which is a one-to-one replica of the iPhone. So these are things that we see. But Adrian, to address your question, I would suspect if you are not sure if this is not a reputable organization, let's say your bank or something like that, I would, think twice if I want to install that application on my um, my mobile device.
But Dr. Levy, as you were speaking, like, it's just coming more and more aware to me how much as consumers we need to know about technology and cybersecurity. Because first time we just enjoyed these things and there was just not much to it. But now we gotta find out the developer, we gotta segment our network. So almost everyone is now becoming techie or has to become techie in order to protect ourselves. Which leads me into my next question. Just what are some of the basic ways that we can, protect ourselves and our devices, even going forward into the future?
Right. So a couple of things, and there is also a question regarding that. I just want to say that there are, first of all, we need to rely on some younger folks. So those of you who have teenagers, it's about time for you to put them to work for your needs.
They don't have any patience.
And so you need to get them to sit down and talk to you and explain to them, your challenges. Apparently these kids, we see this, I see them coming to my classes, not the PhD obviously, but the lower level classes. We see them coming in, and they're just fascinating. They were born and lived with the internet. For them it's natural. So someone was asking about configuring it over HTTPS or setting up a home router or things like that. Some of these kids can figure it out in seconds by watching a YouTube movie. It's interesting. When my son was in third grade, we had a problem in my house, something about the toilets, and my son was saying, you have to see a YouTube. I'm sure there is a solution. And guess what? A third grader came to me with his tablet and showed me a YouTube of how to solve the problem. Okay? And it worked. So we really want to look into what the younger folks, because for them it's natural,
Yeah.
and we may not think the same way that they are. I'm a bit older. So, the point is that some of these kids really can help us, and that's what we're trying, by the way, to do also in our programs, to get them to stay on our side, be on the good side of cybersecurity, right?
And if you don't have access to younger persons,
Right. So there
yeah,
are a lot. As I mentioned, YouTube can be your best friend. It's free. You can spend a few minutes to educate yourself. Education is just a matter of time nowadays. There are a lot of things that don't cost anything besides time, right? There are freely available courses, there are freely available sessions, tons of YouTube resources available. Just spend the time, watch it. The beauty of YouTube is that you can watch it as many times as you want, and until you get it, right? So, by all means, use the resources. Also ask questions. If you're unsure, you have resources, you have other people around you, or consult. Consult a professional in the field, like Dr. Blackwood-Brown, who can, I'm sure, help
yeah,
you
yeah.
with a lot of those issues. But again, that's where you may want to make the decision. Okay, where do I do it on my own, or try to do it on my own? Where do I bring the professionals?
Okay. Um, in about 2 minutes, Dr. Levy, what does the future look like for cybersecurity? What does it look like for us, and how can we coexist?
So, I mean, I wish I can predict.
Look in your crystal ball.
I mean, that's a great question that some of my a lot of my students are asking. When can they get their PhD done? Right? And my answer is, I wish I could predict the future. Well, the first thing I will do is eliminate COVID-19, right, from the world. I think in the near future, what I think we will get is a larger wave of uh, different scams related to COVID-19 and different issues related to either closures, lockdowns, or opening, or petitions. So the FBI has been investigating lately a couple of petitions that are going around in email and asking people to sign petitions in order to, resist masks, resist social distancing, resist different things. But while they do that, they infect people's computers with some malware. So I think the areas that we want to look in the future is to continue our proper hygiene, cyber hygiene, right? I know you've been talking about that, which is so important. Um, we've been doing this for COVID to protect ourselves, right? We need to do the same thing in cyber to protect ourselves as well.
Wow. Um, and that's super important. We have a role to play. So as we come to the close of this presentation, I just want to say that that's what we have been advocating for the whole month of October since we've been here. The first week we had looked at understanding and owning your role in cybersecurity. So when we know what it is that we're supposed to do, and basically hands down, it's just to protect ourselves and our devices when we are online. That's it. But how do you do that? That's a whole new thing. But at least if you understand that the protection lies in you, it lies in me, it lies in you. Whether even if you're in an organization, when you are at work, and most of us, as Dr. Levy had mentioned, we're working from home. So now it has extended. There's no perimeter anymore to say this is where home is. I saw a cartoon that says, do I live where I work or do I work where I live? so, so there's no separation anymore. So the organizations are not going to protect us. We have to protect ourselves. And if we are not within an organization at all, whether we are retired or we're in school, the onus is on us. So we have a big responsibility to practice cyber hygiene. We spoke about physical health. Now we're talking about our cyber health, right? In the second week, we looked at some common cyber attacks, how to spot and avoid them. I hope you all remember those tips that I gave you. Last week, we looked at Internet of Things. And this week, as we try to look at what the future holds, we don't know. But we do know that nothing is going to be the same. So that's what we know.
Yeah, I want to add to it and also answer some of the questions that just I noticed in the
Some
chat.
came in. Okay.
Yeah. So one thing that we know is because of the situation of COVID worldwide and the economic impact on so many people worldwide, is that we are projecting that there will be much increase in cyber crime. It is, and that ties to what I mentioned before. What we've seen is including terrorist organizations and other groups who are hiring programmers. So there are websites that you can hire programmers for cheap. Rent a coder, or other websites that you can basically purchase a malware. And all you need to do is just customize it a little bit. So you don't even need to be a programmer to be a cyber criminal nowadays. You can hire a programmer to do the code for you, and we've been seeing that over the years. I want to answer the point that was raised by, let me see, um, by Amandio about the Samsung TV, and if that can hear you. Just be aware, every device can hear you. So every device that is even your phone can hear you. As a matter of fact, if you're connected on your phone on apps that you are not logged out, LinkedIn, Facebook, all those social media, they constantly record from individuals and attach those translate them to text, attach those to your account. So later on, you're going to get a customized, advertisement. So don't be surprised that when you're talking about, a toothache, that later on you're going to get a coupon for a dentist, or something like that. We've seen this. This I've seen. As a matter of fact, I have one of or a doctoral student who just finished recently his doctoral research, has done a phenomenal study on IoT devices and the malicious activities that IoT devices produce. And I can go on and on. So I'll just say that we have some very strong evidence of what's going on. Okay.
Now I see why you say Internet of Trouble.
Exactly. Another question, Anthony is asking, custom router firmware. Question is, where do you get the custom router firmware? Are you getting that from the manufacturer? If you do, then that may be okay. If you're not getting it from the manufacturer, you customize it yourself or someone else, I would challenge that. So we've seen telecommunication products that are coming contaminated already. We've seen point of sale devices that small companies are buying from eBay and other sources that cyber criminals sell them. So what cyber criminals do is they buy computers with point of sale, like the scanners when you go to the groceries or whatever, and they put on them the malware, and then they put them on sale at a discount rate. So small mom and pop shops, pizza shop, whatever, they will buy those to do all their credit card transactions. And sooner or later, all your credit cards from the last month are on sale on the dark web as a package. And the credit companies will probably, or the law enforcement will come, and that's how the FBI, by the way, know about those breaches. They buy those off the black market, and then they analyze them, and they know where it's coming from, and that's how they go to those companies and try to help them stop the bleeding. So just to address that. Another question here. This may sound silly, but at this point, hacking has become so ubiquitous, absolutely, that I have to ask, can you be listened to when your iPhone is powered down? Rick, very good question. Your phone is still alive when you power it down, by the way. If you've learned a little bit about capacitors, and if we have any electrical engineers in the crowd, they will tell you that your phone still maintains connectivity, still maintains the date, the time, the location, the gyros, etc. So your phone is never, you can deplete the battery and let it stand there for months until everything is really done. But then how useful is that, right? So what would you do? Well, I have a rule. I have a 2-story house. So I have a rule, no phones upstairs. Phones are left to be charged overnight downstairs. We have scheduled on the routers for the phones that blocks their communication overnight. And we have analyzing network, but that's my life. So that's a bit different. But obviously, you probably want to separate devices. So all of you who bring all your devices to your bedroom, I would say it may not be a good practice. Let's put it this way.
Wow. I know we're over time, but just quickly, Dr. Levy, what do you think about telemedicine? Because now with COVID, they're saying that we should stay here, and the whole security about telemedicine.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of my family members in South Florida are physicians. As a matter of fact, my uncle is a prostate cancer surgeon for many years in Palmetto Hospital, in Hialeah Hospital down here in Miami. And for him, surgery is not something he can do telemedicine.
Yeah.
But my other, my cousin is an endocrinologist, and her husband is a rheumatologist. They both, since March, are doing telemedicine, and they use Zoom. Uh, I know Zoom had some issues with security initially.
Mhm.
They've been, revamping a little bit their encryption and listened a little bit to the criticism from some, security groups, which is great. I mean, we use Zoom for our university, so. Um, how secure is it? It's not 100% secure. We know that there are ways for some individuals to hack into Zoom sessions and even be in an incognito mode. Okay, we've seen some research done on that. Nothing is 100% secure. When you go to the doctor's office, how can you make sure that his or her phone is not on and someone else is listening while you're saying whatever you say? You cannot. Same thing with everything else. I mean, there has to be some level of trust, and what do you get out of it? That's really the question. Um, it's
Yeah.
really
Well, were there any other questions that you needed to address before? And I thank everybody. It's actually after 8, and I still see over 70 persons still logged on, which was like the number throughout. So thank you. Apparently, the information you find it very interesting, and I'm happy for that, right? So as Dr. Levy says, we gotta trust somebody, right? But um, practice, now that you are aware, practice this simple thing. Just be aware that these devices, they collect information about you and they send them back. Who has access to that information? We are not even sure, right? And it's going to get worse because, with 5G coming up where, it can even go fast and in real time, they're saying even to keep up with the amount of information when 5G is rolled out, it's going to be super difficult because to track this and to track that when it's going that fast and streaming, it's going to be difficult. But we have to coexist. This is technology. Probably in the years when they had the industrial revolution, when they were replacing muscles with machines, maybe that's how they felt. Now, our brains with AI, artificial intelligence, and all of these things are just converging, and it's gonna create more and more security problems. But keep yourselves in the know. Reach out to somebody. You can reach out to us if you're not sure what to do, because right now, today, everything that we mentioned is all high level. But how do you actually do that? So that's another, well, not just one conversation, maybe that's a whole course. But remember, we are here to help you. And Dr. Levy,
sure.
I thank you so very much for taking the time out to be with us to share from your perspective what you're seeing, what's going to happen. I'm sure everybody on here was, really engaged in the information that you had to share. And I
I think
don't want to leave. Go
yeah, I don't
ahead.
want to leave without answering questions. So
You have some more. Okay, go ahead. Go
let's
ahead.
let's try to address. So a question about devices. This is Anthony is saying if you know about MAC addresses and how to set it up, that's wonderful. Absolutely, set it up to block and allow only the devices that on your MAC address list. So that's perfect. Tracy is saying that the we've seen this. Remember, Carlene, when we did the awareness training, where people will say, "Here's my phone, take it, please. I don't
Yeah.
want to deal with it anymore." Right? And Tracy, just to address your point, when we did the training, Carlene and I, we dealt with senior citizens I think your average age was what, 76?
70, yeah. I had, I think from 60
Average.
to, yeah, 60 to 89. 89 was it? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So we had something like 76 was the average age, and for them, they were saying, you know, we don't want to hear about this phone anymore. And at one point,
And that
and
was before COVID. Now they have to use it.
way before COVID. And
Yeah.
so coming back, Tracy, the point that I'm telling you is, listen, I don't know if you're driving, but does it mean that we stop driving? Does it mean that we stop eating because there are problems with food? No, we are educating ourselves, our families, to become smarter consumers and to really, understand um, what is right and what is wrong, knowing that there is a risk there. So Tonya is asking about banking, and I'll answer that as our last question. Our banking apps are safe? And my answer is yes, to some degree, right? So there is nothing that is 100% safe, but if you set it up correctly, they are reasonably okay to operate. As a matter of fact, have my phone, and my phone I use for banking. Um, but that means that on the same phone, I have no games. That means that on that phone, I have no free apps from anywhere. That means on my phone, it is basically dedicated for my credit cards and my phone, and everything is using two-factor authentication and my fingerprint as a sign in layers. So these are obviously, you know, measures that we want to put in place. I would not say let's just abandon the internet. I mean, look at what we're doing now. I'm in Miami and you're in Canada, and people are all over, right? And we're still educating everyone. So the
Yes.
point is that let's be smart. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's an awesome note to close on. So everybody out there, thank you, Dr. Levy.
Sure.
I give to you again. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate who you are and how you have contributed to
Awesome.
my development. And I know it's going to continue. We share research, and we're going to continue because we cannot stop, right? So go to YouTube, go to Google, for just about anything. If you're living at home all by yourself, these are resources that you can use. And then if you read, or if you listen or watch on YouTube and it still is not clear to you, then by all means reach out to us, Carlene VB at speakingtech.ca. You can go back to the registration information. My information is there. I hope that we can continue with stuff like this. Some I'm gonna have to charge you for. I'm putting it out there, but then I'll continue with the education because as Dr. Levy is doing now, we are contributing to our whole community. So as researchers, as professionals, we got to still give back. So we will still give back, but at some point, without a charge, right? And I'm sure you understand that. So thank you, Dr. Levy. Thank you, audience. Thank you very much.